New York City streets are being compared to a real-life city of the Walking Dead, as fentanyl overdoses surge past record levels. Families are being torn apart, neighborhoods transformed, and the crisis is spreading faster than most realize. But the real question is, if this is what's happening in America's biggest city, how close are we all to living in the same nightmare? In 2025, more than 80,000 people across America lost their lives to fentanyl overdoses. That number is higher than any year before. In New York City alone, more than 3,000 people died from fentanyl in just 1 year. In the Bronx, the overdose rate is now higher than the national average, and in East Harlem, the numbers climb each month. On the streets, it looks like a city under a spell. People slump against brick walls, their heads falling forward, arms limp, eyes half closed. Some move slowly, like shadows drifting through traffic. Others fall straight to the sidewalk, and strangers rush to call 911. A young woman named Marissa holds a picture of her brother and says, "He was only 23. He thought he was taking a pain pill. It was fentanyl. We never saw him alive again." Her voice cracks, and behind her the sounds of the city, sirens, horns, footsteps press forward as if nothing has changed. Yet everything has. The poison hides in nearly every drug on the street. Pills made to look like Percocet, powders sold as cocaine, tiny bags of heroin, each can be laced with fentanyl, stronger than morphine and deadly in a few grains. Dealers cut it in because it is cheap, powerful and easy to smuggle. New York, with its crowded ports and constant flow of people, is a perfect target for traffickers. What was once an opioid problem is now a fentanyl storm. Every borough feels it, but the South Bronx and Washington Heights show the crisis on every corner. Nationally, the crisis is terrible, but in this city it grows faster, sharper, deadlier. Watching people collapse in broad daylight makes the danger feel normal, and that normalcy may be the most frightening part. If this is happening in the largest city in the country, how long before it spreads everywhere? On a street in the Bronx, children walk to school past a man lying on the curb, barely moving. A teacher in East Harlem says, "It's everywhere. The kids see it every day. They think it's just part of life now." That sense of everyday tragedy is a key to how the problem weaves into the fabric of New York. Poverty pulls at families who can barely afford rent. Abandoned buildings and crowded shelters give people little safety. Some use fentanyl to escape cold nights or painful memories. For many, the drug becomes the only coping tool they know. In Bushwick, a young mother admits she keeps using because quitting feels impossible when there is no one to help with childcare and no money for treatment. Fear keeps many from calling for help, even when a friend collapses. They worry about police, about shame, about being blamed. In immigrant neighborhoods, the barrier is even sharper. Language, mistrust of hospitals, and the fear of being reported to authorities stop people from reaching out. The crisis does not live in numbers alone. It grows in small apartments where families whisper about lost sons. It rises in bodegas where dealers sell pills in the shadows. It lingers in subway stations where men drift, nodding off in seats while trains pass them by. And still, the city carries on above them, busy and bright, as though two New Yorks now exist at once. One is alive, fast, and full of promise. The other is slow, heavy, and fading. Would you stop if you saw someone overdose on your street? Would you step in, or would fear keep you silent? In the South Bronx, the crisis shows itself most clearly in the open. On some corners, people lean against metal gates or sit on cracked steps, their bodies swaying as if caught in a slow dance they cannot escape. The sidewalks smell of smoke and garbage, and sometimes faintly of vinegar from used needles left behind. In East Harlem, near 125th Street, the same scenes repeat. Small groups gather under bridges or in alleyways, speaking in hushed tones. What was once hidden is now out in the open, and for many who live here, it has become part of the daily landscape. A teacher walking home from school shakes her head and says, "Kids don't even flinch when they see someone passed out. They think it's normal now." The words cut deep, because the truth is that the crisis is no longer shocking. It has been absorbed into the rhythm of life, woven into the background like the constant hum of traffic. For the people caught in it, the reasons run deeper than a single bad choice. The city itself has created conditions where fentanyl takes root. Rent prices climb higher each year, pushing families from apartments into shelters. Crowded shelters leave little privacy and little hope, and for some, the drug feels like the only relief. On a winter night, the air sharp with cold, a young man in Bushwick says quietly, "I use because it keeps me warm. That's it. It makes me forget I'm on the street." His words reveal how survival, not pleasure, drives the habit. The drug becomes less of a thrill and more of a blanket, even though that blanket carries poison. Economic pain spreads across these neighborhoods. In the Bronx, Jobless rates remain among the highest in the city. Small shops close, factories stand silent, and young people grow up watching their parents struggle. With no clear path forward, some fall into fentanyl as a way to numb the emptiness. A mother in East Harlem shares how her daughter started using after losing her part-time job. She felt useless, like she had nothing left to give, she explains. The weight of poverty does not just press down, it twists, leaving people vulnerable to whatever promises a break, even if that break is deadly. But it is not only money that keeps people trapped. Fear and shame close doors that might otherwise save lives. Though the city has good Samaritan laws that protect those who call 911, many still believe they will be arrested if they seek help. An immigrant father in Washington Heights says, "If I call, will they take me too? Will they take my family?" That fear silences him even when a friend overdoses before his eyes. Others mistrust hospitals, feeling judged or unwelcome. Language barriers make it worse, as instructions in English do little for those who cannot read them. For many, these walls feel higher than any building in Manhattan. And yet fentanyl spreads through these cracks like water through broken stone. It seeps into spaces where services do not reach, where stigma turns people inward, and where desperation silences calls for help. The danger does not only rest in the drug itself, but in the way entire neighborhoods bend beneath its weight. Each factor ties into the next: poverty into despair, despair into addiction, addiction into stigma, and stigma into silence. In this web, escape feels nearly impossible. And the haunting question lingers: if even the youngest are learning to accept this as normal, what kind of city will grow from that silence? The trap of fentanyl is not a straight fall but a slow spiral that pulls people deeper each time they try to climb out. A man in Brooklyn speaks of his struggle, his hands shaking as he holds a paper cup of coffee. "I tried detox 3 times, he says. "Each time they gave me a week. After that I was back on the street in days. Fentanyl doesn't let go in 7 days. It takes years." His voice is worn and his eyes look far away, as if they carry the weight of many failed chances. The truth is that the system meant to help often makes the climb harder. Short programs and limited beds push people back into the same streets that broke them. Each relapse feels heavier, each return harder to fight. The cycle spins in painful circles. Addiction strips away steady work, leaving people jobless and unable to pay rent. Without housing, they end up in shelters or on sidewalks, where the drug is never far away. Homelessness brings danger, hunger, and cold nights, which drive people back to using, not for pleasure but for survival. Soon the body grows weaker, infections spread, and overdoses come more often. Hospitals treat the crisis for a day or two, then send people out with nowhere safe to go. The streets welcome them back, and the cycle begins again. The city's jails, crowded and loud, become the largest detox centers by default. Guards and nurses see people shake and sweat through the night. But once released, they return to the same corners, carrying the same pain. The system itself adds weight to the spiral. Needle exchange programs, which save lives, often run out of funds. Safe rooms in East Harlem and Washington Heights face angry protests from those who see them as dangerous rather than helpful. Some lawmakers push to close them, even though they have reversed hundreds of overdoses. Each step forward is met with 2 steps back. The crisis does not pause while leaders argue. On the streets, the losses stack higher each week. One woman from the Bronx shares her story of falling again and again. She sits on a metal bench, her voice quiet but steady. "I wanted to stop. I wanted to be clean. But the shelter was filled with people using. I couldn't sleep without it. I couldn't eat without it. The system gave me rules, but no real help. I was drowning, and they told me to swim." Her words capture what many feel. Not a lack of will, but a lack of support, strong enough to break the pattern. Children see these cycles with their own eyes. In East Harlem, a boy of 12 describes watching men slump outside his building each night. They fall down, then the ambulance comes. Next week, they're back again, he says. For him, overdose is not a news story. It is a loop he witnesses every week, like a movie stuck on repeat. This cycle does not end with one life lost. It spills into families, into classrooms, into entire blocks. It steals time, trust, and hope. And as the loop turns again and again, the haunting question rises. If the system keeps spinning in circles, is it built to heal, or is it built to let people fail? In the shadow of this crisis, hope has begun to take shape in small but powerful ways. In East Harlem, inside a modest brick building, people gather at a safe space called On Point. Here, trained workers carry naloxone and watch closely as people use. Dozens of overdoses have been reversed within these walls, each one a life pulled back from the edge. Outside, the streets remain heavy with struggle, but inside there is warmth, soft light, and the sense that someone is paying attention. A man who has used for years whispers, "I know they care. They see me as more than an addict." His words reveal the heart of change, being seen, not judged. Across the Bronx, vans painted in bright colors move slowly through busy blocks. These mobile clinics carry clean supplies, offer testing, and even connect people to counselors. A young mother steps inside with her baby in her arms, not to use but to ask for help. A worker hands her food, gives her numbers to call, and reminds her she is not alone. On another block, EMTs now carry naloxone in every kit, ready to bring breath back to those who fall. These steps are small in the scale of the crisis, but for the people whose lives are saved, they are everything. Other places offer lessons too. In Portugal, the focus shifted years ago from punishment to treatment. The country saw drug deaths drop, showing what is possible when care replaces jail. In West Virginia, new recovery villages blend housing, job training, and counseling, giving people not just detox but a full chance at a new life. These models shine as guides, proof that with courage and will, the cycle can be broken. In New York, some who once felt trapped are finding their way out. A man in Harlem, now sober for 2 years, stands in front of a small apartment he can finally call home. "When I had a roof, when I had someone to walk with me, that's when I could fight," he says. His story shows that treatment is not just about medicine, but about housing, community, and the steady presence of support. The road forward is long, and no single program can solve what fentanyl has done. But each saved life, each reversed overdose, each family kept whole proves that change is possible. This crisis is not only about a drug, it is about people, and people can heal when systems rise to meet them with compassion, strength, and unity. The question is no longer if the cycle can be broken, it is whether we will choose to break it together.